לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו.
Oh, you don't look like Haile Selassie.
They died. My panache was too much.
Boy, Generalissimo Francisco Franco.
Fully merited.
He's still alive, but
Fully merited.
Generalissimo Francisco.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Grab your prayer books, turn to page 24. We will welcome Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, V'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachem Hashalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, V'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, V'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidhem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, V'melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
150 years ago today, 44-member households established Congregation Beth-El. Their pioneering spirit and strong Jewish identity enabled them to persevere in their mission, as did all the generations that followed, midor lador, leading us to this day, inspiring each subsequent generation to focus on the ideals of sacred service, strong community, and sustained Jewish life. Some of our founding families, the House and Oppenheimers, and others who came soon after, like the Strauss family, the Langs, the Gardners, the Frosts, and the Pitlucks, still have descendants who remain deeply engaged to this day, as do many other families who have seen third, fourth, fifth, and even sixth generations grow up under our dome. Which is why tonight we celebrate our temple's founding and our Beth Elders, those who have been members for 50 years or more of their lives tonight. Tonight we look back to give thanks for the experiences that have enriched our congregational life and led to this day. We'll sing more classical melodies and enjoy our beautiful organ, I think, a little. Yeah, very nice. We'll share in a blessing of our Beth Elders and hear from our Rabbi Emeritus, Samuel Stahl. Together, we will celebrate 150 years of Temple Beth-El as we eagerly look forward to all that is yet to come. We welcome you all as we welcome Shabbat with light. And we turn to page 3 in our Sidurim, our prayer books. It's my pleasure to call up Cheryl Levinson, who will offer the reading before we sing the blessing together.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel shalom.
perfect my ways of loving and caring. Inspire me to make myself whole, so that I may honor your name and create a world of justice and peace.
Amen.
Amen. Maybe you noticed that during Kiddush and Motzi, you saw a gorgeous new challah cover in the style of Israeli artist Yaakov Agam, just in time for our 150th anniversary. This cover was lovingly needle-pointed by members of our congregation. We owe a great deal of thanks to the following people: Candy Gardner, Hannah Margolis, Barbara Moss, Janet Nushenwander, Miranda Sutton, Sharon Teisch, and admittedly, I did about maybe 20 stitches myself. So I got it in there too, but I did a few and I thought, I'm gonna leave it to the experts. Even so, we hope and pray, may their work inspire us with Shabbat joy, and may we, every time we say Motzi together, give thanks for the strength of our congregation and the artistic gifts that people so willingly dedicate to beautify our sacred objects. Share with me in Shehechianu, since we used it for the first time tonight. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, for giving us life, sustaining us, and enabling us to reach this moment of joy. Amen. I know that we will use this in good health and delicious challah for many, many years to come. I know it is really, really beautiful. And with that, we are going to continue with our service on page 22 as we sing Tov Lehodot.
Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot Ladonai. Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot Ladonai. U'zamer l'shimcha elyon, l'shimcha elyon. U'zamer, u'zamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot Ladonai. Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot Ladonai. Le'agid b'boker chastecha ve'emunatecha b'leilot, b'leilot. Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot Ladonai. Tov, Tov, Tov Lehodot, Tov Lehodot Ladonai.
We turn back to page 20 as we welcome the Sabbath bride singing Lecha Dodi. We'll sing verses 1 and 2, 5 and 9, and when we reach verse 9, Bo'i v'shalom, I'll give you the signal. We'll rise as a congregation, turning to face the entrance of our sanctuary to welcome that Sabbath bride, really that Shabbos spirit that we feel when we sing together. So whether you're here with us in the Wolf Sanctuary or joining us from your own sacred space, we're glad you're here to welcome the Sabbath bride with us. Please sing.
Lecha Dodi lekat kala, v'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi lekat kala, v'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad,
הברכה. מראש מקדם נשוחה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, עיני שבת נקבלה.
Turn to those around you, wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Let them know you're glad they're here. Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom to the people. Shabbat shalom to the people.
We continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 26 as we remain standing through Shema.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. אמן. יעלמד ברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחיי כל יומי כאן ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעולם ועלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן מעולמה, ואמרו אמן. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We continue together on page 30 in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma potech she'arim, uvitzvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakira kirtsono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid imloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 32. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Please be seated. We continue together on the top of page 36. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאמות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו מה עשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת.
Page 41. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Page 40, Micha Mocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך לקרבותש. נורא תהילות אוספת, נורא תהילות אוספת.
top of page 43, we join together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. We join together in Vishamru, page 44.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam, berit olam, beini uvein bnei Yisrael, oti leolam, beini uvein bnei Yisrael, oti leolam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim et haaretz, ubayom hashvi, Shabbat vayinafash.
We rise for the tefillah on page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufiagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Eleon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Begonei Hakol, Bezoher Hasei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Marid HaGal, Mechapel Hayim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Ishenei Afar, Bichamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memid Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahlelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. On the top of page 55, we continue together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 57. You are with us in our prayer, our love and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levarecha b'yirah na'avod. On page 58, we continue with Hoda'ah, our prayer for Thanksgiving, together. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha olecha na'eh lehodot. On page 60, we sing our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tarsim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol shalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol shalom. V'tov einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Baruch atah Adonai, hamarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
At this moment, we join together in a prayer for the state of Israel. If you're able, I invite you to rise and join us on the prayer that is on your service supplement on the other side of the healing list. Join with me. Rock and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the dawning of our redemption. Shield it with your compassion and spread over it the sukkah of your shalom. May a spark of your Spirit inspire the actions of its elected leaders and officials, judges and advisors, that they may follow the path of justice, liberty, and righteousness. Strengthen the spirit and the hands of those who build and protect our holy land, and grant them salvation and life. Bring peace to this land and everlasting joy to its inhabitants. Be with all the people of Israel, wherever they are. Plant within their hearts the love of Zion, and spread your spirit over all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot hatred and animosity, jealousy and evil. Plant in our hearts love and kinship, peace and friendship, and speedily fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. Well, before there was a state of Israel, Jewish people in San Antonio, Texas were gathering to form a Reformed community where they could raise their families and observe their Jewish rites. How fortunate we are to not only have descendants of those founding families among us, but so many who have been part of our congregation for 50 years or more. So many who grew up here and returned home to raise their children or grandchildren here. So many who found San Antonio and Temple Beth-El and decided to make it their forever home. If you are one of those who have been a part of Temple Beth-El for 50 or more years of your life, does not have to be all in a row, but 50 years or more of your life, I invite you to stand back up so that you can receive a blessing. So if you're a Beth Elder, please rise. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Ve'imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. May the one who blessed our ancestors before us bring holy blessing upon these committed community members who have made Temple Beth-El their congregational home for half a century or more. Holy One, a blessing. Let these cherished temple members ever be aware of how the gift of their continued commitment and connection to community inspires us all. Whether you grew up here at Temple or raised your kids, even your grandchildren here, or all of the above, you have cultivated an appreciation for the grandeur and beauty of our sacred space, ensuring that Temple has remained the historic heart of Reformed Judaism in San Antonio. Serving as leaders, volunteers, and supporters of Temple, you have lifted up our sacred mission to inspire people to cultivate their Jewish lives, so that now, as we celebrate our 150th anniversary, we can look back across the generations and appreciate the rich legacy that those like you have given us, a commitment to keeping Temple vibrant and strong. And may we too be ever grateful for the gift of your continued connection and commitment, inspired to maintain that sacred structure, building upon your legacy and creating new history for others to appreciate for many generations to come. May we all continue to be worthy of your holy blessings, fulfilling the ideals of our rich heritage, maintaining our congregation's strength for years and years and years yet to come. Amen. And thank you. Okay, you may be seated. From blessing to blessing, thinking about longevity and strength of purpose, we now offer prayers of healing for those who face the future not fully whole. If there's someone in your life, someone you hold in your heart, someone on your minds, I invite you to think about them now. Close your eyes if you wish, and whisper their names out loud. Strengthened by each other's presence, we link the prayers we have in our own hearts for those we love to all the prayers in this room, offering our prayers as well for those who are on our healing list, all those in the world in need of healing. We sing together, turning to page 252 for Misha Berach.
Misha
Amen. We take a few moments now for our own silent prayers.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank Rabbi Nathan for this privilege of offering the Devar Torah on this historic occasion. What a joy it is to be part of this beautiful service led by Rabbi Nathan, Rabbi Jurgen, Kader Khan, and this magnificent choir whom we heard so many times this evening, singing with such excellent chords and melodies. It's quite a notable achievement for a congregation to observe 150 years of existence. We have proved our critics wrong. Our critics, too loud? Too soft? Okay. Hello, is it on now? Is it better? Okay. Can you all hear now? Yes. I remember a colleague of mine, Orthodox colleague, who was speaking on Yom Kippur, and a woman in the back row said, because they can't use a sound system on Yom Kippur, a woman in the back row said, "Rabbi, I can't hear you." And a woman in the front row said, "You can take my seat." But I was telling you about our critics. A lot of people who were opposed to Reform Judaism claimed that it was a first step to assimilation, that once a person joined a Reformed congregation, the next generation would no longer be Jewish. How wrong they were. I was amazed last Shabbat morning at our confirmation service when I realized that a majority of the confirmands this year represented at least the fourth and sometimes the fifth generation of membership in our congregation. It's to the enormous credit of Temple Beth-El and Reform Judaism to retain the loyalty of families in such large numbers over such a lengthy stretch of time. And now much has changed over these years, particularly in the role and image of the Reform rabbi. And let me begin. In 1967, I was a senior rabbinical student at the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati. The Hebrew Union College, for those who do not know, is the America's Seminary of Reform Judaism. All of our current clergy are alumni of the Hebrew Union College, some in New York, some in Cincinnati. That year of 1967, I was invited to teach a course in Rabbinic Hebrew to a class of 7 undergraduates. They were in their junior year of what was then the combined rabbinical program of the Hebrew Union College and the University of Cincinnati. Little did I realize that 5 years later, one of my 7 students, and the best student in the class, by the way, Sally Prezand, would become famous. She would become the first woman in American Jewish history to be ordained a rabbi in 1972. Today, well over half of the graduating classes of the Reform and other non-Orthodox seminaries are women. Initially, when women were first ordained, they were destined to serve only small congregations or as assistants in large ones, but never as senior rabbis of major congregations. Now there are scores of women throughout the United States and Canada who are heading Reform congregations of over 900 families. Rabbi Nathan is one of them. The Reform rabbi of today is a far different functionary from the one that I encountered when I grew up in the 1940s and 1950s. Those of you who have been with Temple Beth-El for 50 or more years will resonate to the contrast between then and now that I'm going to offer. Please keep in mind that I'm going to present some sweeping generalizations. You may know of rabbis who are not typical of the past or the present, as I describe them. There may be exceptions, but generally this is, I think, correct. First of all, the Reform rabbi then was always a male. He was not a warm, fuzzy personality. Rather, he was a distant, formal, and aloof individual. People respected him as an authority figure. Few people would dare to address him by his first name or refer to him by his first name. Often he was called doctor, even if he didn't own a doctorate. Rarely would he appear in public without a suit or tie. His manners and social graces were impeccable. He kept his social distance. He had few friends in the congregation. In fact, one observer at that time called the rabbinate a lonely profession. Sermons were a high priority in his rabbinate. He spent many hours crafting and preparing them. And he composed them in elegant English prose and delivered them from a high pulpit with a deep, resonant pulpit voice. His congregation expected him to be an eloquent Jewish ambassador to the Christian community and to be a close associate of leading members of the city's clergy, business community, and government. Many Reform rabbis of that era were raised Orthodox in English and Yiddish-speaking homes by East European immigrant parents. These rabbis rejected their Orthodox backgrounds for the most part and embraced the practices of classical Reform Judaism with unbridled zeal and enthusiasm. They had zero tolerance for the wearing of the yarmulke, the kippah, and the talit, on and off the bima. They considered most of the dietary laws, the kashrut laws, to be anachronistic and obsolete. Some even forbade the use of the chuppah and glass breaking at a wedding. They emphasized the ethical teachings of Judaism over ritual practices. Many Reform rabbis of that era took courageous stands on controversial issues of conscience, such as segregation, prayer in public schools, and workers' rights. My 2 predecessors, Rabbi Ephraim Frisch and Rabbi David Jacobson, both of blessed memory, distinguished themselves as social justice champions. Their social justice activities often put them at odds with the politically conservative lay leadership of this temple. These rabbis were serving American Reform Jews who were really unsure of their place in American life at that time. Anti-Semitism, both the overt and subtle kind, was rampant in our country even then. We have plenty of it today, but it was going on then. And American Reform Jews thought if they minimized their distinctive Jewishness and looked and acted like every other American, they could put an end to anti-Semitism. They hoped that their rabbi would aid them in their desire for acceptance. They want a spiritual leader who would not fit the usual stereotype of a rabbi of the old world, with a straggly beard, garbed in strange-looking clothing, who spoke English with a Yiddish accent, who lacked a university education, who had bad table manners, and led synagogues where bedlam or disorder prevailed during worship services. In short, they trusted that their Reform rabbi, by contrast, would make them look good in the eyes of the Gentiles, particularly the Christian community. Today's Reform rabbi is very different. The major changes in the nature of the Reform rabbinate occurred during the 1960s and 1970s in response to revolutionary happenings that were occurring in the Jewish and wider communities. First of all, there was a feminist movement. It is interesting, I noted earlier that the first woman rabbi in America was ordained in 1972. But in 1921, more than 50 years before, the faculty of the Hebrew Union College asserted there was no reason not to ordain women as rabbis at that time. There's nothing in principle that would have prevented that. However, the Hebrew Union College Board of Governors insisted on continuing its policy of ordaining men until 1972 because they said that women would not be accepted by the average Jewish congregation at that time. It's a sociological issue, not a theological one. I believe it was the rise of the feminist movement with its demand for equal rights for women in all areas of life that spurred the Reform movement to ordain rabbis who are women 50 years later. Furthermore, in this country at that time, anti-Semitism had greatly diminished in the mid-60s. American Jews began to move into previously restricted neighborhoods. They could enroll in prestigious universities and medical schools without facing a quota system. They joined exclusive country clubs, which once blackballed Jews from membership. Something else happened in 1967. Israel won a war against 6 hostile Arab nations, bent on destroying it. Israel miraculously wrested its victory in just 6 days, and that triumph took away the self-consciousness of most American Jews of all denominations. It gave American Jews in 1967 a pride in their Jewish heritage and sparked a desire to affirm that heritage publicly. In addition, in 1960 and beyond, college students began to rally against the war in Vietnam and fought to bring down the establishment. Unlike most of today's protesting college students, these students were not anti-Semitic. In fact, a large number of these rioting students in the 1960s were Jews themselves. They essentially abolished middle-class values, which characterized American Reform Judaism until that point. These young people did away with formality in speech and dress. They considered decorum to be stuffy and pretentious. They questioned authority figures. They normalized sex and cohabitation before marriage. Their motto was, "Don't trust anyone over 30." Good advice. Their influence in the 60s continues to be felt to this very day among all generations. Its impact on the shape of Reform Judaism and the role of the rabbi is incalculable. Today's Reform rabbis are far different from the ones I knew as a child and adolescent. They are far more relaxed and accessible, and certainly more child-friendly. They relate with greater warmth to their congregations. Almost all of them have shed their pulpit robes, except on the high holy days when they wear white gowns. Many are skilled at playing the guitar and are less inclined to accept the music of organs and professional choirs. Many appear publicly in casual clothing. They strive to achieve intimacy with their people rather than social distance as was the case with the previous generations of rabbis. A large percentage of today's rabbis no longer view delivering sermons on Shabbat as a high priority, though sermons on the high holidays are still important to them. Pastoral care is far more emphasized than before. Rabbinical seminaries require significantly more courses and programs in this area of pastoral care than was the case when I attended the Hebrew College in 1966 until 1967, I should say. In addition, many Reform rabbis today were not raised in Orthodox homes, but in Reform households. If they're rebuilding at all, it's against the classical Reform temples where they became B'nai Mitzvah and confirmed. They are comfortable in embracing traditions which earlier Reform rabbis roundly rejected. Almost all of them today wear kippot or skull caps on the bima, and some of them don skull caps full time. They also tend to keep some form of the dietary laws. As we look at these vast changes in the Reform rabbinate over these many, many decades, let us not, however, confuse substance with style. The mission of a Reform rabbi is the same. It's to interpret Judaism in a way that enables the Jewish tradition to speak in the modern idiom. Only the style of conveying that mission has been changed, not its essence. And I pray that Temple Beth-El, now celebrating its 150th anniversary, will embrace and perpetuate that mission taught by today's rabbis and cadre. And in so doing, may our congregation rise to even greater heights of achievement and glory. Ken Yehi Ratzon. So may it be God's will. Amen.
Yes. I was nodding behind you quite a bit. We continue with Aleinu on page 283. If you are able, please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula liotzer b'reishit, shehu sam chelkeinu liachid et shemo, v'god aleinu l'amlich malachuto, v'anachnu korein u'mishtachavim u'modim. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום
You may be seated. We turn to page 289 for our memorial meditation. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. Our thoughts turn now to those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yahrzeits, we remember them. Lucille Alberts, Benita Wiederman Bath, Ruth Bayer, Becky Block, Sabina Lowenberg Block, Emma Brown, Tiffany Bernice Brown, Patricia May Campbell, Henry Cohen, William M. Feldman, James Fenstermacher, Lily Fisher, Henry Fischel, Herman H. Fleischman, Doris Frost, Arthur Gindler, Pete Gindler, Howard Goldberg, Jetty Gottschalk, Nita Greenberg, Sophia Gross, Sadie Grossman, Jack Gerwitz, Sigmund Hoffman, Sarah Josephson, Marion Kaplan, Frida Kleinman, Milton Klein, Anatoly Kravchenko, Robert Latimer, Herbert Lauterstein, Hollis Harold Letty, Alex Lieberman, Jacob Menick, Carolina M. Mungia, Richard Neely, Robert Jack Parker, Martin Perkins, J. Paul Price, Sue Ricklin, Abe Rosenberg, Dave Rosenberg, Stanley David Rosenberg, Morris Rosenstein, Leah Rubenstein, Bessie C. Serrata, Beatrice Stein, Mel Stein, Louis R. Sutton, Alfred Thomas, Eugene Leslie Wayne, Henry D. Wexner Jr., and Jean Wolfe. To these names, we add the names of those who were laid to their eternal rest this past month, whose family and friends are in a mourning period of Shloshim. We remember M.M. Feld Jr., Marlene Reynolds, Marion Shanefield, and Heidi Go. We also think of those who've been laid to their eternal rest this past week, whose family and friends are in a mourning period of Shiva. We remember Lori Koch Van Fleet, mother of Katya and Alexander, grandmother of Lawson and Elias. We also remember Dylan Forshban, son of Temple Beth-El member Morton Forshban and brother of Temple Beth-El member Jake and Carrie Forshban. With all of these names, we add those which are in our hearts each and every day as we rise together as one community for Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yitz Gadal v'yitz Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Hirutei v'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayed chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shemei dekudasha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'elma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, u'ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. It is my honor to call forward Mark Eichelbaum as our president of our Board of Trustees to deliver tonight's announcements.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome. I'm so glad you could join us here in the Wolf Sanctuary or from your own sacred space. Lots of thank yous tonight. Sisterhood for the pre-Shabbat Oneg, sponsoring that. Cheryl Levinson for a beautiful lighting of the Shabbat candles. Rabbi Stahl for an incredible Devar Torah. And of course, Kol Simcha, our beautiful choir that sounds so wonderful. And especially to all of you that were able to come for the Beth Elders dinner earlier and for joining us tonight for Founders Day Shabbat. I am 2 months away from being able to join you for 50 years at Temple Beth-El. Better luck next year. Here are some upcoming events at Temple and things to know. Religious school enrollment is open for the 2024-25 school year. Families can enroll through their Shul Cloud account, and details can be found on the Youth Education webpage or by contacting the religious school office. Join Temple Beth-El Sisterhood for an upcoming Mahjong tournament on June 9th. I hear it's going to be fun, and they've promised me no tiles are going to be thrown. So. And on Tuesday, June 11th, starting at 6:30 p.m., please join us for Erev Shabbat Services and a dairy dinner and program. You can find more information and registration links for these and other exciting things on our website or in the weekly announcements, which arrives in your inbox around 4 p.m. every Thursday. We look forward to your participation in these enriching and community-building opportunities. Shabbat Shalom.
Our closing song is Odon Olam on page 321. Please rise as you are able.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol zivira nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra le'acharei tiklot hakol le'ado imloch nara והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו, להגבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חמי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת עוזי ביום אקרא בידו, אקירוני בעת תשם והעירה, והיברובי בביאתי, אדוני ולא יירא.
Shabbat Shalom.